We see inflation all around us. Gallup reports that 60% of us feel the economy is getting worse, and inflation is our top worry. Today I'm going to team up with Peter Morici, a top economist from the University of Maryland, to examine in depth what is causing inflation. Many people will answer Joe Biden. Don't turn off the TV, there's more. And I hear you, but let's probe deeper and find out what's really going on. Inflation can happen for two reasons. One, too many people want to spend too much money and can't find enough products or services to buy, so retailers raise prices. Economists call this demand pull because inflation means that consumer demand pulls up prices. And it can be caused because the costs of production rise, and that also drives up prices. Economists call that cost-push inflation because higher costs push up prices. Both demand pull and cost-push are happening right now, big time. When Biden and Congress print $1.9 trillion in stimulus payments and now want to print $5 trillion more, all that money goes into consumer pockets and pocketbooks. Many save it up, but most run out and spend it. Too few money chases too few goods and services around the block, so costs rise and rise and rise. But that begs the basic question. Why are there too few goods or services available? If folks have the money, why don't producers put the goods on the shelves? They want to, but they can't. Not enough raw materials or energy, too few workers, not enough plant or equipment, not enough capital to invest. Why? Several reasons. One, there aren't enough workers, so employers need to pay them more. Minimum wage, $7 an hour, $10, $15, $20, forget about it. If you sit on your couch and watch TV, the government will pay you $100,000 a year, $8,300 a month, $2,000 a week, $50 an hour for a 40-hour week. That's more like it. So employers aren't hiring them off the couch and away from TV without paying a lot more in wages. That's what we're seeing in the leisure and hospitality sector, one of the hardest hits by the pandemic, as people stopped eating, going out, or traveling. We lost 2.5 million jobs there in the pandemic. Companies responded by raising wages, 15% since the first of the year, just 8 months ago. Costs push inflation. The second reason is retirements. Plenty of workers hung it up during the pandemic. 1.5 million people decided to retire, adding to the labor shortage. The result was that there were 8.7 million unemployed in June and 10.1 million unfilled job openings. And the way you fill an unfilled job opening is you pay more, and that drives up prices. 3, there was a shortage of parts. Sometimes even when companies can find workers, they can't come up with the parts to assemble their products. The Polaris company that turns out sports vehicles is missing seats for its ATVs and shocks for its snowmobiles. Polaris is stuck deciding what to produce based on what parts it can find. The global supply system is totally screwed up. Polaris says that it's juggling 30 or so supply chain constraints for its ATVs, motorcycles, snowmobiles, boats, and off-road utility vehicles. So Polaris changes its plans sometimes daily, switching models as supply and demand logistics managers scrounge for parts and materials. And when they do find them, they always cost more. So the company has to pass that along to the consumer. Costs push inflation. Reason 4, tariffs. We all hailed President Trump's decision to double tariffs on Chinese products. Now they average about 19%, 6 times what they were before Trump. But that 19% translates into higher prices. We want to protect American jobs, but it costs 19% more to do that. Reason 5, globalization is in retreat. Globalization really held down prices until it didn't. Companies could outsource to factories in Asia with much lower wages and costs. But then COVID disrupted our international supply chains. We couldn't get the medical supplies and semiconductors we needed from China and other countries, so we began to make them here. And making things in the USA costs a lot more than making them in Asia. Listen to this. In the past few decades, prices for things we make here at home rose 20 times more rapidly than the stuff we imported from abroad. Now, onshoring has had to replace offshoring, and that drives up prices. Creates jobs, but drives up prices. Reason 6, not enough raw materials. Not only are workers in short supply, but raw materials are too. That's because since 2000, we've cut capital spending on major resources like industrial metals, energy, lumber, and battery metals in half. And as a result, we don't have many of them, and their prices are rising sharply. And once again, Biden's making it worse. He wants to double the capital gains tax, more than double it. So if you're considering starting a mine or drilling for oil, you better not. The government's going to come in, and even if you make money, it's going to take 40% of your profit, more than twice the current rate. Of course, that's in addition to the regular income tax. So who's crazy enough to invest? So we keep paying more for energy or raw materials, and those costs push up inflation big time. Reason 7, COVID continues to ravage our supply chain. COVID hasn't run its course. It's still ravaging our supply lines. Workers in Vietnam are sleeping on their factory floors and eating at their machines so they don't go out and catch the disease. The authorities are quarantining them at their jobs so production doesn't crater. Our prices are rising because the world is not making enough of the stuff we need to keep up with our voracious demand. 8, bad weather is sending food prices soaring. Call it climate change or just lousy weather, but agriculture has been hit hard worldwide. Food prices in particular are going crazy, up 31% since January. Meat up 14%, dairy up 17%, sugar 22%, cereals up 32%, oils up 61%. Families have to make tough choices. Bloomberg reports that meat is often the first to go. And in some households, a glass of milk has become a luxury reserved only for children. Fresh fruit, which we once deemed a necessity, is now a treat. So we're getting hit at both ends of the supply chain, supply and demand. And Biden keeps making it worse. Where's it all going to end?